Do you ever step into the new year and get so overwhelmed with all of the goals that you want to achieve that perhaps you don't do anything? This episode is all about choosing one word to help guide you through your next year and how impactful having a word of the year can be for you. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are talking about the word of the year, why we do it, how to pick it, and how meaningful it can be throughout the entirety of the next 365 days. So we choose a word of the year. If you're having trouble choosing just one word, you can choose a phrase. I know Josh's last year was deep work. I know there's one that I'll never forget from the first time that we did it at the studio. One of our students, her word was divine feminine. So like combo words or words that go together, you can absolutely choose those. So picking the word of the year, it's a newer thing to me within the last 10 years. I didn't do this my whole entire life because I didn't know about it my entire life. Once I first heard that this was a concept, it made so much sense to me because I have a lot of goals, as I'm sure you do. And part of me has now realized that some of these goals, they're going to happen, and they're going to happen for a more divine purpose later on in life. And I can say that that's true because this is the podcast that we're doing right now, and this is happening in this most divine moment. And podcasting was a goal of mine for a long time. And it just like it wasn't ready. It was brewing, it was stewing, it wasn't ready yet. And I accept that some of my goals are like down the line goals. I used to think that maybe someday like I would become like a therapist and like down the line, maybe I'll be one. I already feel like I deal very heavily with healing. I'm not going to say therapeutic things because just kind of like err on the side of caution with that word, but dance is healing. And I think a lot opens up. So I think that goal actually is just like, who knows? Now, at the same time that I say this, I want to also mention that there was a time where I thought owning a dance studio was a later on in life goal. I almost like put it in my head, like, you'll do that later. And part of me just didn't believe it. And they're like, no, do it now. Why not? And I go into this in more detail in episode 54. And the title is kind of savage. It's the word shift series. So if you know, you know. That's when we take apart a word and we say like why you could choose a better word. The word shift series, you and your excuses, old, fat, not sexy. So wow, I really went in on that title. But yeah, we talk about that in there. And we also talk about like, that episode is heavily about like the word old, the phrase old, but we also talk about I'm too young. And I talk about how I thought I was too young to own a studio. And I thought I was too female to be a DJ. So I don't want you to get misconstrued here with what I'm saying, because yes, there are goals that you are going to have right now for later on purpose. And then other times there's going to be those for later goals. And it's also like, why not now? So another opportunity for you to get really in tune with yourself and get more awareness around your goals. And a great way to do that is through the word of the year. I just think this is such a cool concept. Having a word of the year can be a great way to be so direct with what it is that you're doing in your life. It can be a beautiful reminder. And we're going to go into all of its greatness right now. Sometimes there's years where you're just scattered and you might feel just not grounded at all, overwhelmed, and coming up with a list of goals or even thinking in that way could just be too much. It could be like, I'm just trying to survive. Like, okay. So having a word to focus on tapers all of that overwhelm down, makes it less about the accomplishments and more about the embodiment. Sometimes your goals can feel like they're going in a bunch of different directions. If you can center in on one main focus, it'll keep you aligned. And that's not to say that all your different goals are going to have the same base word behind them. Maybe they would, but it's a great way to know that everything is filtering back to this word. For example, I was telling this to my students the other night. I have a word of life. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but my word of life is ease. And I'll never forget the moment that this word became my word. It was in 2014, and I was at a conference in San Diego. It was my first time in San Diego, and I fell in love. And it was an isogenics conference, so I used to sell protein shakes and cleansing products and skincare and all through this company called Isogenics. And they had a conference every August, and it was my first time, May. It was May 2014. I heard about it and I was like, wow, I need this. I want this. And I didn't want it really for the products, like though I still to this day have their products almost every day. And I remember, if you know me, you know that when I go into something, I jump in. I'm the diving board chick. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is an episode on this that is coming out in the near future, maybe February, who knows. And I dive in head first and I get enthused with what I'm doing. And so part of that with this was getting all the products, trying all the products, so I knew what I was going to be selling. And then the other was, there's a conference and people are going to be there and I'm going to learn. Okay, I can figure it out. I can fly alone. That was scary. And at the time, even now, I really don't take time off for anything, really. I don't like to. I like to be at my studio. And I remember, I think I'd take off one day and I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to miss them. And it was such a cool moment. And to be honest, I'm living like that right now with a couple of things. Just that type of energy I'm getting a chance to revisit, which is so cool. I actually will never forget, side story, because this is just so funny. The day that the conference was opening up, we were in the hallway. There was 10,000 of us in the hallway getting in line to get the doors open. Now, I don't know what was going on, but things were happening later. Something probably happened. If my DJ mind is I wasn't a DJ then, so I wasn't thinking in that mindset. But now me reflecting on this, I'm like, they were troubleshooting something, because it was we were tardy. And I just remember being so excited. I had my Isogenics friends, who one of them was just this girl that I met in college, but she was working as faculty at the college. And then this other girl who we met, it was just really cool. So we're in there, and then all of a sudden I'm like, guys, what if we can start the slow clap? And they were they looked at me oh my God, you're a fool. Why? And I was like, because it would be cool and it would be perfect. And then maybe the doors would open. I was like, if I start this, will you commit? And that's kind of what all of this was about anyway. It was about committing, and it was about going in 100% and doing things you don't normally do. And so I remember them looking at me okay, I'll go. But I knew 2 wasn't enough. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get more people. So I kind of tapped near me and I was like, if I start the slow clap, will you join in with me? And they were like, okay. And of course, everyone was I'm scared. I don't even know what is slow clap. We're going to start the slow clap, and it's going to be epic and it's going to be awesome, because when are you ever around 10,000 people at once that you can look around and see? That just doesn't happen a lot, for me, at least. And so I tapped on another group of people. You could kind of see the little podlings of people. And I was like, hey, I'm going to start the slow clap. Do you want to? And everyone was like, okay, all right. And they would kind of look around and be like, okay. So I was like, all right, guys, 5, 6, 7, 8, we're going to do this. And so I start the slow clap. I looked at them, signaling them, come on, do it with me. You promised. And then within a freaking matter of seconds, oh my God, this is so nuts. It's so nuts. Within a matter of seconds, all the people, just picture a convention room and picture all the stacks of people just and everyone was slow clapping and then fast clapping because of you. Then, I kid you not, the doors opened and we all ran. It was just such an epic moment. It was so epic for me. And the reason why I know it was so epic for the people around me is because I've heard it being talked about before. I've heard it remember that girl that started this slow, not to be a Leo, but that was me. That week was pivotal. And it was just really cool because they always highlighted the millionaire earners. And there was this girl and her name's Petra. And she came on and she did the most beautiful keynote speech I've ever heard, to this day too. So then it was the first one I've ever heard in real life. And maybe the actual first I've ever heard. Well, if you count my graduation speech, I guess that's kind of a keynote. So that was pretty good. But this was better. And still to this day, there's one that comes close that I've heard, and that's been more than 10 years since then. And I always can go back to this moment. She was so cool. First of all, she was talking about abundance and how abundance around you is just awesome to have in the form of everything and also money. This was a convention about earning. And I know that we all have like different mindsets around money, and I never really get into that because it does have everything to do with dance in a way, because when you dance, you're investing yourself, you're investing your time, you're investing your money, you're learning a skill that you'll have forever, you're learning a skill about your body, and you're learning a skill about life when you choose to dance. And I remember I was sitting there and I was next to the girls that I told you about. And I just like looked, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I can't believe like we're learning about this right now on like a Saturday in August. And she takes her shoes off and she just like breathes with us. And she's like, what I love so much about the fact that I've become a millionaire is how easy it's made my life. And she went into different reasons why it's easy. And one of them was, if I want to send my friend a random balloon bouquet for her birthday or for no reason, I don't think twice about it because money would stop me before. And now I send it. Just make a cool moment for that person's life and for me because it's fun. If I'm having a hard time parking, I don't care about parking in a no parking zone because that ticket is whatever to me, because me getting to the place where she just went into all of these reasons on like how her earnings have made her life so easy. And she went into like, because she took her shoes off and everything, and she was like on the floor with her feet, and she was holding her stance, and she had us do it with her. And she was like, see what that word like feels like to you. And so this was maybe my first time getting in touch with one word, and it was so powerful. And I just remember being like, wow, I actually love that word so much. And since then, this has always been a word that has come back to me. I mean, I can even like flip through to this. I just remembered it. This is, I think I've showed you this page before. Word of the year, decide. And then I have the word ease in a rectangle that is like underneath it. So yeah, I really love that word. So that's like the word of life that I have in the background. And it's just, think of like a beautiful like song in the background of your life. Like this word, like whenever you have a moment like that comes through, it's just like, oh, is that ease? Or whatever your word is of life. Maybe it's peace, harmony, devotion, like whatever you feel attached to, and you'll know because you're you. You'll know what word it is. Maybe it's action. Maybe it's do. Maybe it is ease. Maybe you're channeling this energy too, which is also the power of the keynote, because now you're hearing her words through me, and maybe you're being inspired to have a relationship with the word ease. So, obviously a word of life is a lot different because we don't know what is our life until we're doing it. And we can plan and we can practice and we can implement all that we want, and still, we don't have control of it. I had my ballet lesson today, and oh my gosh, I love my teacher so much. Katya, I love you. And like we go over, we're dancing, obviously, but because of the kind of instruction that I really want from her, we go through so much, like intricately, like we go in. I'm not just like dancing just to doing some dance. I'm dancing because I really want to grasp a major understanding of the anatomical positions that we're in. For one, to prevent injury. For two, to have crazy technique. And two, when you have crazy technique, everything's easier. When you're moving your body from the correct ways, everything's better. So we go into deep, deep things, and that is what dance is. So when you're learning a routine, you see, okay, that's the routine. And then how many micro movements are in that routine? I mean, we never sit down and count those. We could be crazy. But then would you also count the way that your chin moves to the side? And then like, if that movement is happening as a styling move, like we could... Here's a Socratic seminar. Let's talk about it. So I'm bringing this up so that you can understand that when we break things down, things become more manageable. So that's why word of the year is actually a really cool way to do it too, because my word decide last year, it created ease. It still filled into my word of life for sure. And my hyper focus was decide. And perhaps I could have a daily focus if I wanted to. I know that can be a really beautiful strategy to even break it down even more. Though I feel like word of the year is beautiful because that's like my everyday word. What are you going to do today? I'm going to decide. I'm making decisions. And what is that filtering into? Ease. Because I want my life to feel ease. I mean, even just the way that you say the word ease, it just feels beautiful. So, word of the year. So how do you pick this? We know why we pick it, right? Let's go over that a little deeper. We would choose a word of the year because we want more clarity. So again, putting yourself in the mindset that you are in the next year. That's where it gets a little funky. It's you embodying a word so that the following year, if someone were to say, hey, what did you embody in the year blank blank? You'd be like, oh, I embodied this. So it's forward thinking. It's be, do, have thinking. I always reference this episode. So if you haven't listened to this episode by now, please do. Episode 27, be, do, have, beautiful concept. And it's about being and living in the energy that you wish to be in before you have those things. So in other words, if you are wanting to be a dancer, the idea is be the dancer. Do what the dancer does, and then you'll be her. Versus have the dancing abilities, then you can be her. It's skipping that part. It's like, what kind of persona are you? So when I think decide, what does that mean for me? Well, so actually, we'll talk about this because my word next year is going to be unbothered. So I'm stepping into the following year saying, wow, I really embrace the word unbothered. What does that mean? What kind of energy is that? Well, we talked about this when we talked about the Ice Queen. She's very focused. She is determined. She has feelings, of course, but she doesn't let them rule her day. She has more control. So those are the kind of personas that I get to embody in the coming year, so that when I step into the following year, I can actually say that I'm unbothered. So if your word is focus, then when you step into the following year and someone's like, hey, like, what'd you focus on? You're like, I am focused. You're not like, I worked on focus. You become that entity, that word, whatever it is that you are working towards. And what's so cool is words are so abstract so that you can really weave them into every part of your life. So like the word decide, that came up at a restaurant. That could come up in a big decision like, what's the podcast name gonna be? That could come up in, what are you gonna wear today? Focus, that word could come up for you like, okay, I'm in class. I wanna stay focused. I wanna stay present. It could be focus. I keep dabbling around with all of these different skills that I know how to do. I wanna pick one. So focus, what do I wanna do today? Do I wanna clean the house or do I wanna read a book? Stay focused. What is it that you really want to do? So we do this because goals that you write down, and we did this beautiful episode. I don't know what episode it is. And it's about creating your goals and how to separate the year into maintainable chunks. Well, those goals, if you were to listen to that episode, you might feel actually overwhelmed. And that's totally fine. It's always okay to feel a feeling like that. Like, I hope that you know when you feel feelings like that, it's not about, let me turn those feelings off and not feel them anymore. It's, oh, interesting. The approach of, oh, interesting, I'm feeling that, versus, oh no, why am I feeling that? That's a bad feeling. I don't like that. Oh, interesting how thinking about my goals makes me feel overwhelmed. I wonder if you don't think about your goals, but you think about your embodiment of a word, if you would still feel overwhelmed. And the beautiful part of this is you get to control it. You get to have full control over saying, okay, well, today I am going to focus on this word. And then tomorrow, because I'm on my period, tomorrow I'm going to think about the exact part of the goals. Maybe it's January, you're just not ready for it. Maybe it's March. There's so much pressure about goals, New Year's resolutions, and sometimes it's just like, okay, I realize, this is a very important year because it's like the shedding of the snake. It's a very big thing. So if you've been following along with that, it's like year 9, which 9 in numerology is about completion. So we've just completed this gigantic cycle and now we're shedding. And so we really are getting rid of things that don't serve us. So maybe choosing words like that in your everyday life, because our body, our mind, yes, but our body will listen to our mind and you will have a visceral reaction to what your brain is telling you. So if you keep living in, I'm anxious, I'm overwhelmed, I'm this, you will be it. However, if you decide to live in the word of the year, I'm focused, I'm present, I'm creating ease, I'm unbothered, that's what you will listen to more. So it's like when you turn on the radio station and it's, I don't know, 95.5. Well, back in the day, that used to be the rock station. And so you would hear a lot of rock. So you might say, oh, I didn't hear the Backstreet Boys' new song. I'm sorry. But if you listen to 96.3 or, oh my gosh, I don't even know where these radio stations are coming in my head from. Or Fun 107. If you're listening to Fun 107, I'm an East Coast girly over here, then you were getting a chance to listen to NSYNC and Britney Spears. But if you kept the 95.5 on the whole time, your whole life, that's all you would get to hear. So instead, we got to turn our own radio stations to another channel so that we get to listen to those beautiful songs, AKA those beautiful words or those beautiful phrases, which is why we go into so much detail on the word shift series. So when you're thinking and you're choosing which word, think about the qualities of the words that would support you right now and future you. Only you know what you want to become. You might share what you share to people around you, but only you deep down know how meaningful those choices are. If I were to share with you years ago, like I want to start a podcast, you might be like, cool, that's awesome. But you might not know how meaningful that was to me to be able to start a podcast. It might be like a level 10, but you might be hearing it at a level 4. Oh, cool, she wants to do a podcast. She does so many things, cool. Or if your goal is like, I want to read 14 books, or I want to read a book a week, I could be like, whoa, that's advantageous, like beautiful, amazing. But I might be thinking of that as a level 6, like, oh, wow, cool. But you're like, no, this is everything to me. Like, this is a 10. So the only person who knows everything is you. So when you really have time, again, reflection, we talk about reflection, and that episode, I'm a little like lost with the episodes that are coming out and what numbers those are, but it's right around the corner. So if it didn't already come out, the episode on reflection, it might be coming out next. And what a beautiful episode to listen to on deep reflection, meaningful reflection, because we can write stuff to ourselves all day. Hi, today was good, blank, blank, blank. But when you ask yourself really deep questions and really hard questions, and here's a fun trick with journaling, and another episode about journaling coming soon. We just did these all like for this season. You can ask for help when you journal. So like a really fun question to ask people that love you is like, what words do you think of when you think of me? This isn't the Leo speaking. Or what do you think I accomplished this year that was huge? And they might share what they think. And then you might be like, oh, that was big. And then what you really think is kind of like when you're going out to eat and then you could go to 2 different places and then you're like, oh, I don't know, either one. And then the other person says the one that like deep down you actually didn't want, but you didn't know you didn't want it until they said that one. And you're like, oh, I don't want that. I want to go to the other place. It's kind of like that. Like that person gives you thoughts and ideas and it's like, whoa, like that was big, but that wasn't as big as this. You just learned about yourself a little deeper through the help of someone else. Yes. And it depends on which kind of learner you are. I'm that kind of learner because I think outwardly. Like anytime I'm thinking out loud outwardly with people, I get to process things in a very different way than I do when I'm like by myself. You might be the complete opposite of that. I love learning about learning. So that's one whole thing. I just want you to remember that choosing a word of the year creates power, it creates intention, and it allows you to stay on top of what you really want. And it can be the coolest feeling when you step into the next year and you say like, whoa, did I embody that? And you get to say, yes, I did. You get to feel the feeling of completion and you get the feeling of success, which is creating momentum for the next year, because all it does is make you want to do it again and again. And when you're picking your word, it's okay if it feels scary, intimidating. That's the whole point, because a year from now, you won't think so. So even me, when I'm thinking about my word, it's like, woo, that is going to be hard. How am I going to do that? And it's okay if you feel like that. And on the other hand, if your word excites you, that's a great sign as well, because you're stepping into something that you don't currently have, or an attribute of yours that you would like to enhance, or something that you'd like to bring more into your life that you don't currently see, or even a brand new skill that you haven't learned how to do yet. So the way you could feel about your word varies between years. I've been doing this for a while now, and there's some years that I'm like, oh, yep, this is my word, and I feel really soothed and excited by it. And then there are years like this year where I feel like, ooh, how am I going to do that? And it's exciting to see actually how different each year can be with your relationship to your word. And I think it's important to know that you don't need to force it. It will come to you. And chances are it's the first thing or the first concept that you think of, because that's the one that's most real. It's kind of like the reflex. So notice the themes that keep repeating. And this is an interesting thing to talk about too, because once you start incorporating this with your life, you can complete a year and you can say, wow, I loved that word. I loved embracing that word. I don't want to let go of that word. And what you get to know is that word now is a part of you. So you're actually not letting it go, but that part is a body piercing. It's like part of you now. It's there. So let it stay there and you can elevate it. You can let it continue itself in a deeper way. So for example, my word, decide. If I wanted to go deeper, let's say I wasn't ready to give up that word. Well, one, I'd get to know that that word's a part of me now. Like I understand that word so deeply now. And let's still say that I want to do some more work with it. Well, I can, and I can do so without choosing that word again. I could choose a deeper word, or I can choose a different word. If I decide to choose a deeper word, then we get to think, okay, well, which words are similar to decide that could go deeper? So if I wasn't already considering the word all year of the word discernment, maybe I just had the word decide, but in my head, along with decide, I had the word discernment. So I could go deeper with that word. I did that already. I could do embody, and that might be embodying my decisions, or it could be embodying things that I choose. It could be the word relief because of the feeling that you feel after you decide something. It could be a phrase, and that phrase could be like, let go. And that was part of the decision-making process with me, was once I decide, let go of that decision and just like let it be what it is, and know that I put all of my effort into making a good choice for myself. So it could be just like letting go. So when you're deciding your word and you're sitting down and you're reflecting and you're maybe asking a friend to help you summarize the year with you, these deep questions that you can ask yourself, you can find in the reflection episode. And also, just to give you a few here, you might ask yourself, what did last year teach me? Where did I struggle? What did I crave more of? Where did I abandon myself? What do I get to do to feel more aligned next year? What quality would support me in different areas of my life right now? So I hope you get excited to choose your word, and more importantly, to implement it, and know that that word is there for you when you are stuck, when you feel like you don't have power, when you feel confused, when you feel bothered, when you feel like you're overthinking, when you feel like you're avoiding, when something crazy happens and you just need something to focus on that is not what that crazy thing is. This word is a great anchor for you, and it's a great way to build consistency without force. So I hope this is helpful for you, and I hope this becomes a fun little trend that you do with you, your friends, your family, or just yourself. And I would absolutely love to know your word. I know you were already wondering, like, I wonder if she'll want to know my word. Yes, I want to know your word. Send it to me, DM me, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Thank you so much. And if this was helpful for you, don't be afraid to share it with a friend and let someone know about it, because you get to pass on this trend as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.